Hi everybody, it's Gwen with Hummingbird Tarot, and this is part 2 of my tarot deck collection. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell so you're notified every week when I upload a new video. If you want a walkthrough of any of the decks, a full walkthrough of any of the decks, just put that down in the comments. Or if you have any favorites that you have in your collection, let me know. I'd like to know which decks you have. If there's any that you have in your collection that I don't have in mine and you think that I need to get those, feel free to recommend those as well. This deck here is the Radiant Wise Spirit. I have mixed feelings about this deck. I love the shading in this one. I don't like how they used a wide tip pen to draw the images because it looks kind of messy to me. And then it's super high gloss, super thick cardstock, so it's hard to shuffle and the cards do stick together. So although this actually looks better on camera than it does in person, it's not as nice to actually work with in person. So I don't know that I would buy this deck again knowing what I know about it. This deck here is the Law of Attraction Tarot. I was really excited about this one because I am a firm believer in the Law of Attraction, but I can't vibe with this deck. Every time I try to use it, I just can't connect to it, and I can't bring myself to get rid of it because I believe so strongly in the Law of Attraction. I keep coming back to it. I do like the images. I like modern decks that are based on modern society. I just, for whatever reason, I can't connect with this deck. And no. This is the Game of Thrones Tarot, and if you're a fan of the show, it makes it really easy to read with this deck. I really enjoyed the show, connected with it. I have also read the books, so it makes it much more personal of a deck for me because I have that connection. This is the Tarot of the Old Path. This is a beautiful deck. It's also from the 1990s probably. The images are beautiful, and even though it's from the 90s, because it's based on, you know, historical images here, it still feels very current and relevant today, and I like this deck a lot. I have several decks called the Golden Tarot. This is one of them. And this one it's in the background. I don't know if you can see that or not, but this is beautiful. This is definitely a Rider-Waite-Smith deck. I'm going to move some of these around so you can catch, but it's the background mostly, and then some of the detail. That's beautiful. I love how beautiful this is. One thing that might be hard is it doesn't have a major arcana or the minor. It doesn't have any of the names of the different cards, which might be hard for people that are newer to reading if they don't have the images and the symbols on the images memorized yet enough to connect to those easily. And this is a recent new favorite of mine that I really, really love. This is the Smith-Waite Tarot deck, the borderless edition. And I love this one. It's very, the colors are kind of muted. It's a matte finish, but it doesn't feel rubbery at all, which I've heard it referred to just recently. The cards shuffle like a dream. I really like this deck a lot. This is the Tarot in Wonderland. And if you know the story, I kind of had to do a refresher. There's a great book that comes with it and walks you in through each of the cards, but it really helps to connect a lot more to the story. It is actually a more serious deck, and I find that it's on the darker side too. This is the Celtic Dragon, and I like this deck. It really gave the animals in this deck, including the dragons, the personality of humans. And I find that makes this deck very different from any other deck. This is the A.E. Waite Tarot, and this one has holographic images, but this is your typical Rider-Waite-Smith, the original images. I like it. I think it's fun to read with. The cards do stick together a little bit, and because of that, they're hard to shuffle, and the cardstock is really thick. And I also find it strange, the finish is different. On this side, it's a really, really super shiny, slippery finish. And on the back side, it's almost like a rose petal finish. And I think it's hard to shuffle because of that. This is the Steampunk. A lot of you have probably seen this one. Many of you probably have this in your collection. I really love this deck. The women in this deck just seem very powerful. And not just the women, but all the characters. Very confident, very powerful. I like that message. This deck here, along with the next one, are part of a 2-deck set. And this is as above, and the other one is so below. This deck is very magical. The lighting in it, the feeling that I get when I'm reading with it, feels almost like you have to whisper and treat it with a reverence that it seems kind of silly because that's coming from me, but that's how I feel when I read with this deck. I do really like this deck, and the So Below, the other deck, is actually one of my soulmate decks. I love it so much. And this is the So Below, and this is what's happening on Earth while that's happening. That's happening a little bit more on the spiritual side. Look at this Devil card. Isn't that great? And this deck here is really easy to read with. If you know nothing about tarot, you can sit down and understand the message they're starting to convey. The thing that I really like about this deck too is all the little creatures. If you look, there's little creatures in all of them. I love the addition of showing you that there's still magic in everyday life. This is another one of my golden tarot decks. I love this one. These images are beautiful. They're all based on Renaissance paintings. Oh, it's Rider-Waite-Smith based. This is one of my favorite decks. This is the Universal Celtic Tarot deck. This one definitely has a very Celtic feel to it. Find it easy to read. This is just a good everyday workhorse deck. This is the Vision Quest Tarot. So they do have the meaning written on the major arcana decks. This is definitely Native American. They've changed some of the suits. So if I'd say this is probably for a little bit more of an advanced reader. This definitely is a very grounded deck. Very, almost like that friend that's really down to earth, that doesn't let things rock their boat at all. It's a very steady deck. This next one is the Crystal Visions. And this one is kind of a romantic feel to it. It's a beautiful deck. The images are really pretty. It's very soft, a little ethereal as well. This one here is the Tarot Mucha. This one's very good for relationship readings. It's a very romantic deck. And it's just beautiful. The artwork's great. It's a good deck. This is the Tarot of the New Vision. This is a good shadow work deck. And there's just some surprises throughout the deck. It's basically a different perspective. So instead of standing, the Fool is being pictured from the front, it would be like he's in the same position, but somebody's standing behind him and looking in the opposite direction. So you'll see, like with the Hanged Man, there's a crowd of people screaming at him, and that just definitely feels a little disturbing, a lot darker than some of the, the other interpretations from the front side of him. And then you've got all these other, there's more people in the grief card. So instead of grieving alone, you're grieving, there's lots of people grieving, and very dark deck. So this one, it would be good. Yeah, see they're standing, the Knave of Swords, that narcissist, he's standing on somebody's head right there. This would be a good deck to, perhaps mix in and have a standard Rider-Waite-Smith deck blended with this one and get, that would be some really wild readings there, or just use it straight up for shadow work. I have a full walkthrough of this one as well on my channel. This is the Druidcraft deck, and I have trimmed the borders. I love this deck, the artwork of it. A couple gripes with it. The cards are big, even trimmed, they're big, and they're hard to shuffle. I love the artwork in this. I find this very easy to read with, and it's just a beautiful deck. I also have an untrimmed version of this, so you can see the two different, how big these cards are, and I just took the white part off. There's what the back looks like. This is the Voyager Tarot. This is a collage deck. It does have keywords on here, and then there are a lot of images in there to choose from. I find this deck very easy to read with. This is the third of my golden tarot decks that I have. This is a pip deck, so all of the minors, with the exception of the court cards, just have, there's 2 swords there. This is the World, so that's a major arcana, but you can see there's a lot of this. So it's not as easy to read with if you're not familiar with numerology and what the 2 of Swords typically looks like. So if you don't know those traditional meanings or numerology, this would be a harder deck to read with. But I do find the images, I really enjoy them. It feels very Middle Ages to me. It's a really beautiful deck, and I love the back of this. It's beautiful too. This is the Dreams of Gaia. It's really kind of its own system. The cards do stick together a little bit, which I don't care for. I have spent some time sitting down. I need to spend more time with this. It's not a super easy read for me, but I do find that it's very accurate in the readings, and I just have to sit down and spend time with it. Intuitively, you can still read with it, but I believe it just adds a whole nother layer to the reading when you know what the intention of the cards were. And there's a decent book that came with this deck as well. This is the Anna Kay Tarot, and this one, I'm not a super fan of the art, but the expressions on everyone's faces, it's really easy to see how they're feeling. This deck to me is all about feeling and what everyone's feeling. This is the Sacred Circle Tarot. This is an older deck from the 1990s as well. This is a Llewellyn deck. I have seen this on their sites. I believe they're still selling this deck. It's kind of a pip deck, kind of not. You can see there's lots of, there's cups. If you look a little closer, there is detail that's different in every card. So there's the swords there. If you look at the detail around it, you can see also, let me go back to some of these. Oh, here we go. There's the cups. There's a lot of abundance and a rainbow. There are other things happening. There's a river, a butterfly, some trees. So even though it's pip-ish, I still think there's plenty to read in here. This is the Cook's Tarot. This one's just fun. If you're a cook, or even if you just like food, you really can appreciate this deck. It is a little hard to shuffle. It's on the bigger end. The cards do have a super high gloss finish. This is one of the decks that I really like also. And this is just the big version of the Thoth, the Crowley Thoth. I don't really use this one for reading. I used it more for study because you can shuffle it. It's just not quite as easy to handle because it's so big for me. I appreciate what he was trying to do, and I feel like studying this version of the tarot has added to my tarot knowledge and expanded my knowledge there. So I definitely think it's something for somebody who wants to broaden their tarot education that they definitely take a look at. But for me personally, it's not something that I find that I'm attached to or can read easily with. And this is just the Radiant Rider-Waite deck again. This was actually, I just threw this in here. This was a deck that I used when I wanted to study the traditional meanings of the cards. This was a deck that I used for flashcards. When I wanted to study the traditional meanings of the cards, I just wrote them right on here, and I use this as flashcards more than anything. But it is a tarot deck in my collection, so I threw it in here. And then the last one I have is a Doreen Virtue. These are the Angel Tarot deck. And this one's nice for softer, more kind readings. I'm not super attached to this deck, but I do appreciate it, and I do find it fairly easy for me to separate my feelings about Doreen Virtue, which were mild, I gotta say, but I can separate that from the deck and still appreciate the deck. So I hope you enjoyed that. I will put a transcript of this and a link to that in the comments, the notes for this. And I hope you come back and visit me again. Thanks for stopping by.